So we had a really exciting announcement with Kraken Race Supply, but now we have something a little bit more serious to announce. Some of you know this and some of you may not, but I've built my career in the personal growth and development space. I've worked with women and entrepreneurs to help them mentally, emotionally get past what's holding them back and help them achieve everything they want out of life. Imagine carrying a backpack. It's like your backpack of bullshit. You have all your emotion, you have all the shit that you've lived through, and it's weighing on you. And I work with clients to just drop that shit. But behind the scenes, it's been really difficult for me with how much that we've raced the last year and even a little bit more to so drastically move from the personal growth and development world to the very next day, the race world, and back and forth. These two worlds are so different. But the more that we race and the more of you that connected with me and followed me on social media or talked to me at a race, more and more of you kept opening up to me and sharing your life, sharing your struggles, sharing what you need support on, and really just starting to ask the questions of what's possible for us to change about ourselves, or what's possible to let go of, whether it's a lack of communication or self-worth and so many other things, like constantly focusing on what you don't want. And it really made me realize that the racing community that I love so much, most of you are like family to me, and you weren't being supported emotionally, you weren't being supported mentally, and you didn't know what tools and resources were out there. So I very quickly made the decision, because I realized that I didn't need to be switching back and forth between the race world and the personal growth and development world. What I actually needed to do was bridge the gap between the two. I honestly think that the reason I had such a hard time seeing it is because it was just not what's done in the racing community. Racing is very masculine, it's very ego, it's very suck up and send it. Rarely do you see people being vulnerable and being transparent with their emotions and where they're at in life. But we're only on the track for a small percentage of the time. And the rest of that time, we're parenting our kids, we're working with our spouse, we're in the shop, we're mostly in our heads. And that's where we can get held back. You know, it's ironic, really, and a little bit comical, I guess. I have shared my personal story countless times on stage. I've shared my story with an endless amount of clients. And yet, when I think about opening up and sharing my story with the racing community, I'm fucking terrified. But to me, that's the problem. That's exactly what I'm trying to change. I want people to feel comfortable to talk about where they're at and where they've been. And the thing about it is, each and every time that I've shared some of the things I've gone through, is that someone has always reached out to me and said, me too. I've been through that too, and I need help. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same exact thing, of course, but I think when you give people a pass to be open, then it's almost an invitation at that point. When I came to Stephen recently and had told him that I decided that we were going to open Kraken Race Supply and make it happen, I told him that the most important part to me was that we did something that was different, was bridging the gap of how the racing community is underserved. You know, it's so funny because whenever you're a kid and people ask you what you want to be when you grow up, never in my life did I think that I would be doing what I do now. I chose my career not out of choice, but out of necessity. I grew up in a home with a father who was very abusive to me and was a complete drunk. He ended up committing suicide when I was 8 years old. One of the things that I am most grateful for in my life is that my daughter has a dad like Stephen. I never realized growing up how important it is to have a dad until I didn't have one, even though he was an abusive drunk. So fast forward a lot of chaotic years and a lot of mess. And I found myself living on my own, way too young. And I found myself in a situation as a teenager where I was being repeatedly sexually assaulted and physically assaulted in the worst capacity that you could think of. I got out of that situation, and some of that is thanks to Steven, that maybe we will expand on in a different video. But it took me a lot of years to be okay. It took me a long time to get to that turning point. And that turning point for me was stepping into personal growth and development, coaching specifically. You know, I went into that for me so that I could be okay. And when I came out of that, I decided from this point on that I would dedicate my life to showing other people what was possible. Because one of the most greatest impactful moments in my life is the trauma that I carried around for 5 years, I walked away from in 5 minutes. And you can't tell someone what it feels like to drop that backpack of bullshit. Only they can experience it for themselves. And that's what was most important to me about Kraken Race Supply, is that we support the racing community not only on, but also off the track. I'm accredited in NLP, QTT, hypnotherapy, and life coaching, and it's the best gift I could have ever given myself. So yes, we offer coaching. And in addition to that, we've created a give back program. So for every purchase at Kraken Race Supply, a percentage of that goes back to our scholarship program. What our scholarship program is offering those coaching services to the racing community for those who can't afford it. Meaning every time you make a purchase with us, you'll be supporting someone's mental and emotional well-being. How it works is a few times a year, we'll choose a handful of people to grant the scholarship program to. And if you feel like you're a candidate or want to see if you are, then all you need to go is to our website and click on the scholarship program button. What we're building here at Kraken Race Supply isn't just a brand, it's a movement. We're not supporting only the car and the driver, we're also supporting the racing community as a whole. I am so unbelievably grateful that many of you have already came up to me and trusted me enough to open yourself up. I count that as a huge win in my book because, as a lot of us know, sometimes the racing community is a bit of a hard case to crack, especially when it comes to the emotional side. Racing isn't something that everyone can understand, or will they ever understand. We all live a life that goes very against the grid, and I get that, and I'm here to help you if you want it. If not, that's okay. And I just appreciate you supporting those who do whenever you purchase through us. You never know who you could be helping. A racer's wife could be really struggling, and you don't always know what's going on in the driver's head next to you.